right, guys, we've taken a lot of time showing you the past. Let's kind of show you what today and the future looks like. This truck actually probably in between the cab section has stock frame rails. It still has, an interior. The doors still open and close. But after that, ain't nothing really the same. If you come up here, and the biggest thing that's going to be is suspension. This is a pre-runner. So this isn't a race truck. This is designed to pre-run the race courses before you actually race it, so you can get pace notes, you can get an idea what you're looking at. First thing you're going to see here is these A-arms are center mounted. So instead of using the factory cross member where there's a lot of distance between the arms, they mount them basically within a few inches of each other on either side, and they're also many inches wider overall. So that allows you to be able to cycle the huge travel numbers these cycle. Beyond that, you're seeing, 3.5 and 4.0 coilovers and bypasses on the front, and what we like to call a J-arm suspension. So if you look in here, how the heck on God's green earth do you think you're going to get a coilover and a bypass between a single upper control arm? So what the J-arm does is, a J-arm setup, the upper control arm is moved ahead of the coilover, the bypass and everything, and mounts back into spindle line. It makes a J shape, and that allows you a lot more space between 4 larger shocks or, multiple shocks. And you can do a lot more for the controlling your caster curve throughout the suspension travel. In the back here, and let's just take a moment to see, this has an interior, although it's not standard, it still has an interior. This is something you could potentially drive outside of a race course, right? But the real big thing is, if you look back here, they have basically cut, they call it back halving, cut the back half of the frame effectively off, and then redone it with DOM tubing. What this does is it allows for a lot more upward bump travel. So if you can see here, this axle can actually go all the way up into here, which is the only way you're going to be able to cycle 30 plus inches of suspension travel without being 18 feet in the air. You can really see how that works out when you look in the behind. If you get a shot right up over this tire here, in between the tubes, you can see how much stuff they put back in here, how much bracing they use, and all the spares they use. And you'll see why pre-runners are usually built off of pickup trucks. Because 1, it's a body-on-frame design. 2, it allows you the space to do all the things you need to do to put together on a pre-runner. Now, are most of us ever going to drive anything to this caliber? No, let's be real. But this is effectively race level performance, pretty close to it, on something that is plated, registered, insured, and since it's from Arizona, sorry California people, you probably can't drive this in California. You can drive it on the street every day. It's not something you'd say about a trophy truck. Since we're talking pre-runners, we had the opportunity to pop a hood, and I thought I would give you guys a little better breakdown and a little more complete breakdown of how this suspension setup works. So this would be the J-arm here. So normally your upper control arm would wrap around your single strut or coilover. In this case, the J-arm moves ahead of basically everything and wraps back around there into this massive uniball. This is a huge billet pre, so we're talking indestructible type strength. And the reason why they use this strong billet is they're catching the bump stop right here, this hydraulic bump, onto the upper arm right there. I also was mentioning that you can do a lot more for the caster curve with the J-arm setup. So effectively, you can do a better job of controlling and keeping caster the same from bump to droop throughout the whole suspension's travel. Biggest thing we're going to see here is these shocks are not small. That's why we have this J-arm. They've not only put massive, 4.5 inch coilovers and bypasses, they've also completely removed the factory shock mounts, allowing them to mount the shocks much higher and run a much longer shock. If you look at the lengths of these arms and how close they are together, really a big reason between that and the shocks is how these trucks are gonna get 20, 25 or more inches of suspension travel. This is effectively as close as you can get to a race truck with doors that still open.